Okay, awesome. So before I turn it over to the main event, the Ginger Tea Collective, which I'm so excited to hear from, I just wanted to briefly say what Manderley Collective is and what we're sort of doing week to week. So basically, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Rachel Whalen, and along with Marissa Davis, Hannah Matheson, and several other amazing NYU friends, we've strung together this sort of weekly series into our own thing that we're kind of calling the Manderley Collective. And our main goal in starting this was to just sort of use arts and this like online community space to sort of combat the isolation that we're all feeling in all various forms of that. So we're so excited to have you here, and we're very grateful if you've come before, and hope that you'll keep showing up to these in the future as well. So yeah, next week we'll be back again, and we'll send out more information about that in the next few days, but we'll hope to have sort of international crew of poets talking about poems and poets that have inspired them. So stay tuned for more on that shortly in the coming days. But for now, I'm so excited to turn it over to the Ginger Tea Collective. So I'll turn it over to all of you, and thank you so much for being here to read with us. We're so excited.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Hannah and Marissa and Luke, and everyone in Manderley. Oh my God. So the order we're going in, okay, I forgot the order. I just know who I'm introducing because I know I'm going last. This is like a whole thing on the group chat. Everything is a thing on the group chat. And I really want to say thank you so much for being here, all of you. I'm introducing Kwame. And whenever I think about Kwame, when I was kind of trying to think of things to say, like I think about the first meal he ever made for me, first of all, because our time, we were in the kitchen together, this like house in Kingston. I remember him searing salmon. I remember him like tossing pasta. I just remember him like on his feet feeding everyone in that house, basically. And there's a reciprocity that happens with him in like all of our text exchanges and like all of our like conversations. Like I remember one time I was getting roasted in the group chat, and I was like, oh, like, what is it, Attack Nancy Day? And Kwame was like, that's every day. So every time, yeah, Kwame's just like very, very warm and kind-hearted and very generous. I think every time someone has won a prize, he's brought it up in the group chat. Every time like someone gets published, he brings it up in the group chat. Every time one of us has a reading or an event, he brings it up and then roasts us for like not being good at promoting ourselves. I think right now, especially, we're really lonely, or like, I don't know, we're all lonely, and it doesn't necessarily mean we want company. It sometimes just means we want someone to pay attention. And I think Kwame does that all the time, and that's what he's been doing. He's just this wonderful, really generous person whose attention feels really freely given, but also like incredibly valuable. And it's not something that I ever want to waste. And I can't like keep it together anymore, so I'm going to read his bio. Kwame Opoku-Duku is a Ghanaian American poet and fiction writer and the author of The Unbound Verses from Glass Poetry Press. Oh, I have a link for that. I'm gonna copy paste in the chats. Please buy and support him. His work is featured in Bomb, the Virginia Quarterly, Bleak Blorp Review. Kwame lives and teaches in Harlem, is an associate editor for Boat Journal, and he curates the reading series Dear Ocean. Please, everyone, give it up for our first really brave reader, Kwame, and let him consume your attention.
Nancy, thank you so much. That was incredibly sweet. And yeah, you're the loveliest person ever. This is going to be so funny because I feel like all of our relationships kind of like center on food a little bit. So I feel like that'll be like a theme. So yeah, we were talking about writing poems, and I actually started writing a poem based on a prompt that Karisma gave through her like Kave Kanam thing. And it was a tweet, or not even a tweet, but it was on Instagram. And so it's not finished, and it's really short, and you know, that's all you really need to know. But so here it is. And so this is like after Karisma, and to my beloved, and it's untitled as of now. There are always more things to tell you about the glory of deep red against your skin, or the color of the ocean against your toenails. The truth is, you make all colors holy. The truth is, you make all colors feel like flight. I think of this as I stand in the park, staring blankly at the statue of a bear pursuing a fawn. And around me, the country, falling, falling. There are always more things to say. Only destiny holds our bodies. And like the pregnant sky, she's yearning to unburden herself. Okay, so yeah, messed that up, last part up. But yeah, that's that poem. This next one, I actually started writing in Kingston, and it's still not finished, but it might be published soon. So we'll see about that. And this is called Lord Knows. And if a lot of you know, like most of my poems are all titled the same thing. So I've got a bunch of poems named Prophecy, Lord Knows, and all my poems are kind of in conversation with each other. So Lord knows it gets messy underneath the veil when the strength it takes to be can zap the moisture from your skin. And all you want is to be held to the breast of a beautiful being and never let go. While the beautiful people sing, I hope your new soul remains pure. And Lord knows what we lose once we believe we're clean. How purity breeds atrocity like terriers in heat. Why, like a flock of pigeons circling a rooftop, Lord, we know not why we do. And Lord knows we're heavy with the weight of time, and that too many times we've died before we began. That every prayer is a vanity, every God oblivious to our cries. What else now but to speak plainly? Lord, we curse this devilful motherfucker to the ground. Let us march on cities until they crumble, blasting miles smiles as loud as the speaker will bear. To tell them that how even in this moment, which feels to them so dark and unrelenting, there would be infinite beauty if they could only allow themselves to feel it. I'm on mute. Okay, this next poem I've actually never read out loud, and I'm not exactly sure why. The only thing that you need to know about this poem was that there's a story in Ghana a few years back where there are always these issues about menstruating girls and society. And in this particular village, the chiefs did not want these girls to cross the bridge while they're menstruating, and this was the only bridge that could take them to school. So, you know, there was a lot of fuckery involved, and this was kind of my response to it. It's called The Department of the Gods. River Bureau. We go out into the bush alone. We go mad with holy, trembling like children emerge from water, running into the sun. The only thing holier than word is blood. To belong to the river is to belong to the infinite, is to call it a god. And to the river, every child's cry is a psalm. If the gods do exist, may all bodies tremble the same. Men lie while holy about so many things. We tell lies about children, let the water babies sing. This is our block. We can make as much noise as we want. Keep talking all that mess and see what happens when our mama gets back. And I will read one more, and then I will happily turn this over. And this is also one that I don't read much. This is from the chapbook, the Unbound Verses. It's called the Old Head Verses, verses 21 through 25. And I wrote a lot of poems also called the Old Head Verses, and that were different verses. And a lot of them were kind of written around the time that African Americans were being shot by the police, and obviously there was just nothing being done. There was no accountability. And so yeah, this is a response. Verse 21. The most beautifulest shit in the whole world could be the ugliest shit at the same time. like toilet paper and black plastic bags hanging from a cherry blossom in the spring. Or the smile of a wretch as he put the dollar in his cup and he says, God bless you, and you walk away. Or the wrath of a mother's love beaten into her through generations. Or the son's tears as he chokes the doctor who cannot save her. When was the last time we dreamed? What did we dream of? It gets hard to think with all that laughing in the background. It gets hard and you think that shit will never change. And the desire to pass through life like a shadow becomes greater than the desire to raise your voice in vain. Plus, all everybody do is talk and take pictures of themselves. So you can see why folks might just save their breath when you see everybody huddled up crying on the news asking why. And you see so much beauty in the world and you wonder how much of beauty is really real. Thank you. I am now going to introduce the wonderfully talented Kiran Bath. And what can I say? That I feel like, yeah, again, so much of our like group relationship sort of centers on food and our enjoyment of it. And knowing Kiran and knowing Karen's work, you're just not surprised when you read it, because Kiran as a person, like she operates from well within like the depth of her soul. Like she's always coming from a place that is just so deep inside of her soul. And every moment with her, you always feel like you're just like getting like the best bite of your meal, you know? And it's like just a few bites before you get really full and you're just enjoying it and you wish that it would never end. And I miss Karen so much. I miss everyone so much. Pardon me. And yeah, so I think about our like shrimp taco hangouts. Like I think about the recipe swapping. And then you read Karen's work and you were just like absolutely blown away, because every single bit of that depth of her soul goes into her craft. And you're just amazed. She's an amazing person, and I'm so happy to be in this collective with her. And now I will get to the bio. Kiran Bath is a Sydney-born poet and essayist, the recipient of fellowships and support from Poets House, the Vermont Studio Center, and Kundiman. Her work has been shortlisted for the Peach Gold in Poetry and nominated for the Best of the Net. She splits her time between New York City and Sydney, Australia. And again, it is such a pleasure to introduce her. Kiran, hop on the mic.
Oh my God. I'm blushing, I want to cry, I'm shaking, and I really want to kind of be so composed, but Kwame, you really spoiled that for me. I love you and I really miss you. And I'm drinking our namesake, the ginger tea, and I can't believe that this name for our collective has survived, but I think on some level we all love the name. So I think, you know, I think about us all being together in Kingston and in other places, and I think in many ways before, you know, all of this happened with the pandemic, we've been kind of sheltering in place with one another and in each other's recipes and in each other's work. So this reading, I really feel like is an extension of that. So I'm so grateful for all of you, and really grateful for everyone who's here listening. Okay, I'm going to read 3 to 4 poems, and like you're hearing from me, but I do mean for you to hear other voices in the work. Okay. Instructions for Banno. Your ladder step skincare routine. Santhia. He Vaiguru. Keep them from breaching what I carved for myself. Smelting. Their impatience as thrashers on the paint splintering door. Bird's eye view. I, a goyle at the vanity. Them, a flock of white peacocks, suitor ready. 9 cousin sisters, 9 pearls for faces. I have witnessed what a pearl activates. A trusting of her cleanliness, a desire to behold, fair and lovely. I require no less than 3 hours in the bathroom. Born swarthy, I require solace by my own dark hands. First, I pour water on my body. Second, I take the index, middle finger, and thumb. I labor in long pinching motions, ankle to ear. Each squeeze lifts the smoke. Each pinch extracts logs. I become cleaner. I repeat 9 times. I see the smoke in me always. I cannot wring color from flesh. I shed skin, but not bronze. The pearl does not emerge. Once at Lajpat Nagar, I found an abandoned idol of Lakshmi. I held her in my palm and washed the soot from her body. I watched her transform from ash to iridescent. Oh, to bear bright. Oh, to light up. Oh, to levitate as Devis do. I drank what I could with my eyes, rang the bell in prayer for light, and waited. I am unanswered by Lakshmi, by fairness creams, by suitors who refuse me. I cannot return this skin, so I keep cleaning. Next to godliness, I claim my place for waiting. Field notes. They have found them, ruins and ruins of goddesses black as night. Who made the poets and painters see white? Aryan, Mughal, British, media. Kali is seething, skin stretched and orange from bleaching. So here in Sydney, it's Monday and Mother's Day was yesterday. But I think for most of you, it's still happening. So I wrote this poem, I think last year on Mother's Day or around then, and I was really thinking of kind of what it means to grow and not grow. Okay, instructions for Bano. What to grow in the meantime. Dolly. Mother's Day. Florists sleep in. An unofficial holiday I indulge. Noonlight shadow play, collaboration with a fruit bowl. My rotund silhouette, with child in shadow. How shadows disappoint. Failure of mirror logic. Pregnancy is planting, a meantime of gardening. The marigolds I raised. Ivy trail of progress, and yet the audits of my body. What else have you grown? Groves of solace and moss. What's meant to be wills itself. Take lineage, for example. The mother who birthed me, her mother who bore her, that mother and mothers of mothers before her. It should follow that I follow my mirrors. Failure of mirror logic. I do not follow save for the premise that mirrors are reality in reverse. In the shadow, I am pregnant. In the light, I am expectant. I mean to grow in other directions. I mean to pursue the greater question. What comes before continuity, assumption? What's meant to be wills itself. The glow or the seasons. Hair to my breasts now. I grew a heart back from fasting. Seeds in my stomach. Spit it out now. What else can you grow? These poems, my gall, the Himalayas, orange days, 6 more limbs, their longing, more ovaries, new postures, Gajagamini. I can grow. Feel how warm this is now. Instructions for Banno. Soothing balm for friction. Tanya. I cheated. I rubbed what shouldn't be rubbed, lover. I want and don't want to be younger inside than out. I consider selling out. Seduction became a placebo for trust. I am the Bevafar. I hid the bow from Mirza. I prioritize convenience. You see, I get lazy in crises. I become a void so they might sink. My history of starvation keeps me hungry. A girlhood of hiding from beards and tongue for the sake of purity. I fill my cup to the point of disloyalty. I am vindictive to my lovers. I am angry at my lovers. I want all the love and I want it unconditional. Like the fathers, my love is conditional. No longer with shame. The problem now is freedom. This much liberation could make any one of us unimaginable. I did the unthinkable. I rubbed what could always be loved. I cheated to be invincible. I want to be found out. I want all the love and it will cost me my salvation. How am I going for time? I'm probably just going to do maybe one more and one really quick one. Instructions for Benno. The poet interrupts. How to fuck anew. And Kwame, I'm sorry to your mother for this. This is the one where that word is mentioned. I am taking over for a brief moment. I pull the sky taut, a black sheet between present and ancestors. It's just us now, a reduction of octaves. Have you pondered on the sex lives of our elders? I read the Kama Sutra and realized Vatsayana was a hypocrite. I read the Satasai and felt shapes of longing and restoration. I started living alone to develop a formula, a connection of stars between G-spot and clit song. I considered the fossils of unrequited pleasure, bodies in palaces, woven beds, and flat rooftops. There are warnings against disturbing the buried, yet rising carries value, resurrections in scripture. I want to awaken them all. I want to reverse. Wake up, Benno, wake up. Will you share? Will you tell me? Here, I'll go first. Number one, it was never the pop of champagne cork, though there was Prosecco and a hotel room. We only spoke his language for lust, a grape in my pussy. Number five, I needed and missed on purpose. He wanted and missed out of habit, absence. Number six, I refused my wholeness. He abetted in the search for song. We just drank from each other. Number seven, proof of electricity, proof of river from my yoni, love that left no questions on the body. Number eight, they ask about queer theory. I have nothing but hands, gyration, and a Diana complex. Self-portrait as Tahitian. This is the last one and it's very short before I hand it over. Instructions for Benno, talking herself out of it. Dipu. Two sources of guilt until the last leaf is shed. The way I left him, wilted. The way immigrant mothers miss romance, miss fine weather, miss a beloved's lap. Why should I take things not meant for us? Love. Why should I receive? All right. And now I have the sweetest delight of introducing my dear friend and sister in ritual and lunar cycles, Catherine Chen. Catherine is famously generous in the way that they care and simply hold space. I think we've all at some point received some sort of a care package or love letter or delicious pumpkin and rice home cooked dish. And as a poet, I feel that their writing gives us portals into the surreal, the tender, and the feared all at once. You should also know that Catherine is the author of the brilliant chapbook Manifesto or Hysteria from Big Larks. And if you haven't got a copy, you are super missing out and need to do so immediately. Their writing has appeared in Slate, The Rumpus, Apogee, Anomaly, and Nat Brute, among others. Catherine is a recipient of fellowships from Poets House, Lambda Literary, and Sundress Academy for the Arts, and they're currently working on a libretto. Please join me in welcoming the divine Catherine Chen.
Oh my God. Okay, Kiran, I love you so much. I'm sending you all of my love from Sunset. No, why are you sitting? Get back here. I'm here with Bernard. Bernard is my roommate, and we're doing this together. But really excited to get to share these poems and just space with everyone. I love and miss all of you so much. So I'm gonna get right to it. This poem I wrote a couple years ago. I was at a writing retreat and it was in Idlewild, California, and I wrote it for Terosa and Etoro, and it's called Living After the End of Literature. Beneath the house, beneath the table, beneath the lawn chairs and kitchenette and the path I walk, what I took for myself, what I was afraid to touch, what I stole in the silence of a room, the pulsating tremor of recognition, a haunting. When you look across the ocean horizon and fantasize about the bodies who stand beyond waves and islands and geopolitics and find in them the desire to return your gaze, then look at me, pausing, telling myself what it means to enter, to sit down, to feel at last the body come alive, shivering, shuddering, looking over your shoulder. Take a sip of water. Feel its molecular potency in your center, in your intestinal tract, in your fingertips. I am imperfect and full of wanting. I am reckless and ugly, I wrote, or I am digging myself into a hole because it is the hole I would like to be in. It is the hole I feel most myself in. It is the hole from which I have begun to identify the stars and the leaves and lights of a distant plane during the daytime. It is the hole where I belong. It was spring, time and time yet still, and we needed money to pay off our loans, money to bail out our friends, money to afford our retreats, money to live, which is to survive with joy and without meaning. It was spring, what my mother's mother calls the unhappy summer. I trained my eye for light like an abandoned pink Easter egg down by the decaying fence, then birthday streamers in every shade of the rainbow. Blue crown of a bird atop our tool shed. It was spring. So I'm gonna read.
You get applause here.
Okay, so I'm gonna read this poem. So backstory. In November, Nancy and I went to the Brooklyn Museum, and we went to the museum to look at art and to do what people do at a museum, which is to kind of peruse every section as if it's every single item as if it's an IKEA collectible, and try to imagine where in your house you would imagine it. So we were doing that, just having a really good old time, and we decided to make that harder for ourselves because I think one of us decided, like, we should write an ekphrastic poem. we should do it. Should we be bad? We should do it. Let's do an ekphrastic poem. So we did an ekphrastic poem, and we were going around the museum just looking at everything, thinking like, okay, like we're each gonna write an ekphrastic poem and come up with something. And then there we saw her. We saw her behind this like glass display. It was like a miniature. It was this miniature piece called Palanquin for Funerary Procession. And we both looked at it and we like said at the same time, like, that's my poem. That's my poem. And I think we were fighting over it initially, like who called dibs first. And then of course we decided that we both needed to write a poem called Palanquin for Funerary Procession. So this is a more recent, this is not the version that I first sent Nancy, but it's a more recent version. So this is for you, Nancy. Flecks of cloud shift and move. My mother points out the mango trees by the river, and yes, I stood on every yes and no I wrangled out of her. At the time, we weren't consciously grieving. Your wretched breath codified as body. It's reassuring. I confront death by dancing. My body willed itself, and yes, my girl, you watched it all. I don't want to confront my erasure. I want to obliterate its core meaning. Chapter 9. Moon jars offer a metonymy for my relationship to ancestry. Its beauty and allure and violence all held in porcelain. We don't see cracks built like these anymore, but what do I know? Imprinting engages one with the ways of living that subsume us first, then our imagination for desire. And as a child, I was eager to compete for your attention. I was greedy and evil. I was willing to cut you and then divorce myself. I'm learning how to write, and it's really hard. Already my hand is cramping. I think my nails are too long. I'm looking for any excuse to stop. Is repetition the opposite of erasure? On the foothills of Taishan, A veranda awaits an intelligent rock. I've consulted my ancestors, but I think I need more time, maybe more history. At last the rock speaks. What am I worth?
Oh, I can clap.
Yeah, you can clap.
I can make noise.
Okay. So I'm gonna read one more poem, and let me find it. This is a very special poem. This is a poem I thought this is a poem that I wrote after an evening that I spent at Kiran's with Kiran and Bernard. And do you remember this? Yes, I wrote a poem about that night. And it's really special to me, and I miss all of you guys so much. So this is gonna be like my last poem. Watching tea leaves unfurl is a miracle. Within minutes, the forest was born. What compels you to name the moons lodged in your throat, tracing the outline of a plot, solving for X? Name the forest anything. Bubble surface, rippling with verve, leaves fussing. You speculate there's a hungry crocodile lurking beneath one corner of kelp. Yes, we prophesize over and over how the skyline ends. On this night, gathering was novel. The blue undertones stay, shifting, always a shift. No, we didn't learn anything. I barely reach you. I can't summon my grief before company. A pit, a park grill. Still, we lingered over the sink. Dregs of another dinner washed down its aluminum sides. I love my friends even when it's not enough. Is this how you want to be? I hadn't cried over an orange sunset, but I cry anyway. Do not wipe your tears. Do not forget me. So, thank you. So I have the supreme pleasure and excitement of introducing our next reader. Karisma is like one of those people who, when you meet her, you just know like what a brilliant, funny, touching soul she is. One of my first memories of Karisma is at this reading that I was giving last year, and I think I was definitely like not having a great time before the reading, and I think this was at Poet's house, and I was like feeling some tension in the air. I just wasn't feeling really good, and Karisma like immediately sensed that out and was just kind of like looked at me, and she like kind of like held me by the shoulders and just said like, who do we need to fight? And I think it was Karisma and B, you were there too, and the two of you just kind of like held me and just like were like, we'll be here, just let us know like who you need to fight, and we'll deal with them. And that's when I knew she was a real one. I don't know if Karisma knows this, but I'm actually always writing to her. I'm always writing postcards, and I'm always meaning to send postcards to Karisma, and then I keep forgetting them to send them, so they keep stacking up in my room, and then I find them again, and then there's more and more postcards, so then I think, okay, this time I will collect them all and send her multiple postcards, and then I forget to do it. But I'm always writing to you. So this is okay, so Karisma Price is from New Orleans, Louisiana, and holds an MFA in poetry from New York University. Her work has appeared or is forthcoming in Poetry, Four-Way Review, Wildness, The Adroit Journal, and elsewhere. She has received fellowships from Cave Canem and New York University, and was the finalist for the 2019 Manchester Poetry Prize. She is currently a visiting assistant professor of poetry at Tulane University. So.
Y'all got me crying in the club. Hey, how y'all doing? That is so nice. Oh my God. And by the way, Kat did send me a postcard, and it was about like, what is the wildness, or you were walking around your neighborhood asking about what is wild. I have a new poem that I wrote a few weeks ago that has wild in it a lot, so I might read that. But I love y'all so much. Y'all are so cute and talented, and nuck if you buck. You know, I'll fight for my friends, ride or die. But thank you all for coming. I'm gonna read this one first because Malcolm requested it. Hey, Malcolm. But I was gonna read it anyway. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna start with this, and then I got a text from him. And it's like, are you gonna read that? And I'm like, you felt it. All my poems are sad. I just want y'all to know that. So, all right. So this is called A Woman Yells Maxine 14 Times Outside My Brooklyn Window, back when I lived in Brooklyn. Please, Lord, let it be a dog dead in the street and not a woman black as me. Today was a good day. I drowned my hash browns in ketchup, and David Ruffin sang about the bee's envy. I rode the subway without complaining today, and there was no delay after crossing the Brooklyn Bridge. The only crimes I witnessed were the solid-built man refusing to rise and let the old woman sit on the hard plastic of subway seat, and the white woman who was bold enough to leave her apartment with dreadlocks tangling out her scalp. Today, I almost forgot that I was far away from my mother and her growing hands that would grease the driest parts of my scalp without being asked to. Today, I almost forgot that anyone who doesn't share my face would care if I went missing. Maxine should be the name of a Jack Russell or a retriever that has escaped its leash and run into the street for some type of wet freedom nothing else but the rain offers. I know nothing of pet ownership, but I know what it is like to fear the night and every lost thing that can get precious in it. Okay. I have my thesis in front of me, so I'm just read from here. So sorry if you hear papers. I'm gonna read this one because we have all these stories from our retreat. Bernard really likes this one. We went to Kingston, New York, and oh my God, where is it? If I can find it, I'll find it. And I don't know, it's just a really nice time. We all hung out, and Kwame and Kiran made us food. And they love us. I know they love us because they cook for us. So this is dedicated to the Ginger Tea Collective. It's called All Day We've Been Speaking in the Dark. All day we've been speaking in the dark, and all day the bay horses graze. We are happy in Kingston. We snore. We stain a dish with mixed berry marmalade. What if I stopped here? What if we all did? We are all happy and snore like overworked fathers and damaged mothers. Everything is a thick kilt pushed over the eyes. I might be wrong when I think all anyone anticipates is living, but are you all right? I crave quality fruit, ache for over-buttered popcorn, porcupines without the stick. We are all so formal in our wantings. We whisper walk down wooden hallways. We grow so hard we are dying. We are all happy and snore into each chamber of ourselves. The bay horses hide our dreams in the barn. We do not grab them from their maws. Our mothers are damaged and our fathers brew. Inheritance, a kettle crying hamartia. The water burns honeybush. Oh God, how the spoons chatter. The way you shake in your sleep when you think the train has hit you. The police will not break the door. The windows are open. We'll sing arrows into them. We are the commonwealth of hooded children in loud raincoats stealing a porch hammock. We trouble the Gregory Pecks down the lane and bust open the chest of neighbor chiffon-robes looking for Tom Robinson. It is too late for us to own the mouths of our own darkness. We can't be free. We live here. So that's about America. And you know, America ain't too nice to us. We all brown and collected, you know. I'll read, let's see how much I don't know about time wise. I'm trying to stay in the time limit because I respect everyone. I have a couple poems called I'm Always So Serious. I've been told I have a very mean resting face, so I decided to make poems out of that, but they're never about my resting face. So I have like 7 different poems called I'm Always So Serious, so this is one of them. This one begins with a line from a Frank Ocean song. So it's called I'm Always So Serious. I was spoiled by lavish thoughts, I admit it. History almost unchained itself from my weaker clavicle. Everyone looked so excited on the anniversary of assassination. I wrote this because I want to live in the house I cannot own because I am not white. Forgive me. I've said this before, but I was in a different state, a softer mania, and this time a wife lunged toward the mouths of overwatered magnolias. They were already dead. At my home, 2 chickens pecked the yard and refused to leave us eggs. I refused to rest out of unmet want. I harassed the gnats in the bathroom. I fixed the Sprite, wash your back, watch the night, eat all the dead crab. You watch me accumulate in particulars. I stretch the curtains. This is daylight, the swelling of a lizard's red throat. Inside the home I want for the wrong reason, there is a lamp that won't work. I know because the owners keep their blinds open. The husband joins his wife near the olive-shaded lamp and quails as his raving lover seizes the neck of the fixture. I shudder in the passenger seat of the city, far enough to not be heard, but a light shines bright and I am seen, smoothing and serious. I know close violences still form in the absence of want. I keep walking as the husband shuts the blinds. I'm gonna read two more poems. That's good. Yeah, that'll keep the time, right? Nancy is okay. I think I've read this one before, but I'll read it again. I don't read it as much. Grace is staying with your partner in New Orleans. Okay, we need to meet after the quarantine is over, Grace. Okay, so sorry. This is called All the Men I Love. All the men I love carry a sweetness, reluctance, a voice laced with honey, anything society deems ordinary on a woman. My father was a soft violence taken by a softer violence the size of a golf ball. The night remembers a blooming fist, the way he held the bottle like an oyster holds an intruder against its fleshiest parts. We remember the way he battered fish as the kitchen sweat, which is to say we've constructed a better version of the truth. Last week, in the backyard, I listened to the wrinkled man interrupting the woman trapped in the speaker box as he sang happy birthday to the woman in the yellow dress. The seasoned brain matter of crawfish plops on the faded newspaper in my lap as someone lights the cake's candles. The music, which I don't remember now, is soaked with a story about a girl in love with a false version of the truth. We watch the woman surround her cake, and I'm reminded that everyone I love is dying. So, thank you. I'm going to read 2 more poems. One poem is like 1 line long, so that's how I'm going to sneak it in there. If I can find the page. I have 2, I'm reading through my thesis, and it's 1 line. I think I remember. I'm going to just say it. So this one is called, I have 2 poems. They're called America Asks. So America asks, what's wrong with you? Tell me it doesn't hurt to live in you. So there we go. And this is the last poem I will read. It's a new poem that I wrote about 2 weeks ago. So as you know, as the bio said, I'm from New Orleans. And before the quarantine, this has all been a very weird time. So much has happened. I guess all you need to know about this poem is that I'm from New Orleans. At Mardi Gras, a couple people died this year. It was weird. But also the Hard Rock Hotel last October, it's on Canal Street. It's a big tourist attraction right before you get to the French Quarter. It collapsed and it killed a lot of construction workers that were working on it. And it's still up, and 2 people's bodies have not been taken out yet, and their families are outraged. Also, Kobe Bryant died. I know that sounds like, I'm gonna make it fit in the poem, just don't wait. And then, So I have been like these past couple months, we've all been a witness to things that are out of our control, but also it's been really upsetting. And just, I don't know, I've been thinking about the reason why I'm always anxious all the time is because knowing things, it's like when you know a lot of things, or you know the depth of things. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but like the knowing hurts sometimes. So this poem is called The New Book of Knowledge. I take that from Bernard's eyes went up. So the New Book of Knowledge, there's a collection of encyclopedias. I don't know if anyone had them as a children, called the Book of Knowledge. They were presented to young adults, teenagers, to try to get them to know things. And in 1993, it was updated, the New Book of Knowledge, because it was an updated version. They included things to explain to children and teenagers what cancer was, what HIV was, how hair is. Like, they want it to be as honest as possible for young people. So this is my attempt at that. It's called The New Book of Knowledge. I am not here to tell you that people are evil. I will comment on the wind, how it wilds with wildness, of novelty feathers, globes of light, the trees graffitied with ropes of plastic beads breaking nothing but the light. At Mardi Gras, what some people saw under the yelling was a body, was two. What some people managed to see before the police took the musicians' hands were trumpets of a body. What I witnessed was the stopping of tractors a block away, the floats, the pissed people wanting and cold and bashing the woman my mother knew and the man she did not for falling under their joy. I wish I were here to tell you that people are evil. I am only to tell you of what continues. The floats, hands raised for throws in the shape of red stilettos, coconuts, bedazzled purses, another parade passing a site singed by photographs of the dead workers from last October. Listen. What people managed to see the day before they hung the tarp was a body that hangs, or two bodies that still haunt the Hard Rock Hotel. Canal Street wears the bodies of tourists drunk with wildness and hand grenades, wears the shit from horses with hair feathered at the legs. They threw coconuts, we caught them. The photos are on Twitter. Zoom in and you can see the legs. When my legs got tired of being blown by the February wind, I walked away from the parade, up Napoleon Street, to friends with eyes like small glass globes, and we galloped to the bar that blared Juvenile over the sound of our thoughts. In the ESPN replay of Kobe Bryant's memorial, his wife mouthing her grief on mute. I stopped my dancing, placed myself in the lineage of quiet while drunken joy surrounded me. That morning, I didn't mean to look. What I saw was not a body, but a photo of what remained. His remains, or another's who did not palm a basketball, was on Yahoo's homepage thanks to a Los Angeles sheriff deputy trying to impress a woman at a bar. How I wish I could say he was evil. How I want to. Why can't we stop? Turn away. I didn't. What I saw. Kobe Bryant is dead, and this will be the last elegy I write about my father. Once before his body failed him, and he feathered with light. Before I knew the strength of my hair, its thickness, its curls and keratin. My father washed it after I ran from my mother's heavy hands, did not part it like a player or anyone airborne who trusted the wind, but left it tangled because I was tender-headed. The glob of conditioner blanketing over the big knots like clouds, the spraying of water from the kitchen faucet, how a father uses his palm to shield his daughter's eyes from impact. Open-fisted, I am reporting back, empty-handed with knowledge. I have removed myself from the lineage of quiet to tell you an uneasy thing. Everywhere I go are bodies. Sometimes the dead or the people you love, sometimes you are among them. What I have learned, I did not want to know, and what I know, I do not like. Thanks. Yeah, that's why I'm sad all the time.
Wow.
Yeah. So that took me a while to write. I'm introducing Bernard. So the last time Bernard and I saw each other, we were in England, like like Kat read, I was a finalist for a prize in Manchester, and I was telling him, I was like, oh, all these things keep happening and I feel like they're connected. So that probably took me like 3 months to write. So that's the product, Bernard. I kept telling you about it. I finally wrote it. And I'm here to introduce Bernard. So Bernard, if I could pick a word that would like describe Bernard, or like 2 words, I would say the first word would be like wonder. He's full of so much like wonder and joy, and I don't know, I'm trying to steal some of that. I'd like some of that. I remember because we both went to NYU, and he was like messaging me trying to see like whether or not he should like go there, pick another school, and we had like met for the first time like in person, and he saw me, and he just like, we just gave each other like the biggest hug. And I feel like his poems always like try to explore the sense of like wonder about the world, most importantly about himself, and how we're always learning things about ourselves. I guess a food story. Bernard's a vegetarian, but I remember we were at our retreat, he made me feed him fish because we were all eating fish and he was the only one that wasn't. He's like, hey, you should cut me a piece of your fish. And Bernard's like, no. You ate a tiny bit, okay? You're still saving the planet, Bernard. It's fine. It was a tiny bit. So
Him and Kwame made.
Yes, it was the fish that Kwame and Kiran made for us. It was delicious. Everybody else is talking about food, so that was my mention of food for you, Bernard. I'm sorry. You seem offended, but you know, it's a part of your wonder. So I am going to read his bio. Bernard is a Bohemian poet, essayist, and MFA candidate at New York University. He has cool poems published or forthcoming in magazines whose names don't matter. He wants you to tell him about your favorite trees. He wants you to riot about climate change. So without further ado, Bernard Ferguson.
I can't believe you just snitched on me like that. Like, just like for all of our friends, all of our close friends, you know what I mean?
This is a safe space.
In front of everybody, just like, oh yeah, he says he's a vegetarian, but that nigga eats fish. So cool. That's good. Like, you know, it's all right. It's all out in the open. I'm really happy. I'm really happy to be here. Really happy to be reading with y'all. My homies, my contingent, my comrades. Karisma, that poem's amazing. That poem's like gorgeous and wonderful, and we were freaking out. I'm happy we were muted because you wouldn't be able to continue if you heard us reacting. It's wonderful. But yeah, I'm happy to be here reading. I know shit's weird, so I'm gonna read poems that make me not feel weird, that make me feel good. I'm gonna start with a poem that's not mine. There's this poet on Twitter called Kyle Dakuyan. I'm not Dakuyan. Okay. I've never met him in person. I've only seen his name written out, so I don't know how to pronounce his last name. But he posted this poem called "Grant Application." You might have seen it on Twitter. It's very good, and I think it really speaks to this moment of people trying to like pour themselves into productivity and remain these producers in society. Like we feel as if we can't keep still because I don't know. Capitalism tells us we always have to like keep doing and keep producing and keep writing, and I think this poem really speaks to that. I also want to read this poem because it's like kind of a manifesto. And when I think about like collectives, when I think about the Mandoli Collective, when I think about the Ginger Tea Collective, I always think about what is it about the world's, what is it about this world that we want to change with the collective? What is it that we want to build? And this poem also speaks to that. So this is by Kyle Dakuyan, or Dakuyan, I'm not sure. And it's called Grant Application. I resent the imperative to describe my work to you in terms other than the work itself. I resent the requirement of purpose and even intention. I resent criteria. I resent all comparable metrics of value. I am fundamentally opposed to value. I resent the expectation I participate in a manner of speech that serves your understanding. I resent the scarcity model, patronage, and the volume of art created by people who have never known hunger or precarity. I resent leisure as a vantage from which we articulate notions of beauty. I resent relevance. I resent the distribution of resources to confer tectonic supremacies of words and perspective. I resent interest in terms of both likability and accrual. I resent submission and acceptance. I believe in language. There's that poem. It's called Ukuyo no Dakyuan. It's called Grant Application. Little hot oil for your pants. Okay, so what am I gonna read next? I'm corny as fuck. I'm gonna keep it corny. I've never read this poem out loud. I don't think I'll ever want to publish this poem. This is in 2018 when I first arrived to New York proper. Karisma's birthday was like a couple weeks in September, like early. I remember you invited me to the roller rink, and yeah, it was lit. It was like a really good time. But I'm gonna tell you like this real quick story about it. I feel like I got a fragile body, you know what I mean? So I'm not gonna go on a roller rink to break no bones, you know what I mean? To knock no teeth out, you know what I mean? Like I ain't about that life. So I sat on the side of the rink while Karisma, Kwame, and all of our friends just were skating past in circles and as they passed me on the sideline, they were like, come on, it'll be okay, you'll be fine. And I was like, nah, I'm good. I feel like this is not gonna end well. And while it was so beautiful that I took up my pen as I was watching my friends speed by on their rollerblades. And I was writing and describing it and trying to capture it. I put the pen in my mouth and then I just massage it with my teeth. Sometimes the bite on the pen. And while I'm on the sidelines of the rink, I chip a tooth. That's cool. That's cool. This poem is about Karisma. This poem is about that night. It's dedicated to you, Karisma, Kwame, all the homies. This borrows a line from the Chance the Rapper song. We never rolled at the rink. We would just go to the rink. The fall air crisp and pears ripe like stars in the distance, swollen sweet with juice. And from the sidelines of the rink, I watch these gorgeous figures. The girl dressed in flowering jumpsuit, orange and blood petals flailing loose about her legs, guillotines cleaving. The couple joined at their tangled fingers, one weaving and leading, and the other a streak of hair like ribbons on a vehicle. The young boy, sprawled dizzy on his back, panting and smiling with tight eyes, ruined again by rapture. One by one, they stretch their arms as if for balance, then topple like infant birds from flight, and I watch them collide with the earth and rise out of their graves. And forever, forever, I wish them this favor I know I cannot afford myself. Tonight, at the crooks of the body mine and its persnickety joints, there are flocks of bruised men shaking their fists at foliage and cursing the sky for its constant affairs. The ones I love are making circles with their speed, and I am on my own again. The loose hum of a Brooklyn wind wandering atop the curve of my back, touching, like a lover might, the valley between my shoulder blades and the dotted ridges between the bones. It was recommended once that I be bothered by heartbreak like this, or agony at its closing proximity, but tonight I am tickled and falling out with laughter because I can still see quite clearly from here the felled child crawling, weeping, and begging to have her failures unseen. And in my looking, a flock of my friends slide by like a curtain in front of the wreckage. They're gesturing me in with their hands. They're calling my name. I'm just read one more, because, keep it nice and quick, and I want you to wrap your head around all the poems. Okay, this one's a little bit longer. I've been going through it the last week, couple days, or maybe the last fucking 8 months, who knows? And I I'm now like reckoning with like the idea of like me having to move to Canada. And that's been fucking with me heavy. So this poem right here is called St. Catharines 2018. And it's about when I drove from Minnesota to New York, and I stopped in Canada, St. Catharines, to see my cousin. And right now I'm missing family. Right now I'm thinking about migration again. Right now I'm thinking about touch and the green earth. I now am thinking about moving to Canada. And so this poem has all of it in it. So this is to mimic my longing for family right now. This is for my cousin and his family who I went to see. It's called St. Catharines 2018. The rental van idle in the driveway, engine cold with the few hours before we get back to the road. In this new country, the sun works the same and drowns our faces with jewels before it leaves us to the labor of the moon. And nearby, my cousin is singing the name of his daughter, who's running among the speckled pasture of his backyard. And later, he and I, in front of our lovers, will tell stories of our childhood and our sins, how we galloped along the tangled valleys of Mama's yard, and how I once pressed my lips through the fence to touch the lips of the neighbor girl, the one who I have not seen for decades. And my cousin, with his head drawn back and his mouth gaped wide, he will cackle, and I will watch him forget what he must forget as he takes gulps of summer into himself, until we become the same as we were once, as if nothing has been done to us since. Later, though, we will all laugh like this later. But now, my cousin's child is running through the field behind their house, and there are creatures vaulting across the distances between the limbs of flowers, flowers with wild names like phlox and evening primrose, the likes of which are native to St. Catharines, this far north and subtle town hovering near the southern border of Canada, the border where, with proximity to midnight, in the van that carries all I own, my lover will drive along the cavern between the two nation states. Niagara waters falling toward the core of the planet. And I will say, who say that there's a line hanging in the air there, with my finger pointed at the divide? Who say? But I must get back to the point, which again is my niece, the one I just met, the one who is so good at running and seeing what I cannot see, the light rupturing beneath what grows wild in her meadow. There is no fittingly joyous word to describe the daughter of a cousin, and so in this poem I call her my niece, as her father and I watch from the deck and tap the necks of our beers and look each other over like brothers. And it is important, for the poem I mean, to mention that the beer was placed into my hands, and a beer was placed into the hands of my lover only after my cousin fetched them from his fridge, and his wife unlocked them with the metal tool that lines a drawer inside their kitchen. And soon, beneath that kitchen's humming tungsten, together with the woman I love, we will tell them of how we met by luck inside the belly of a bus. And then, across their table, I will reach for my lover's palms and weave my fingers with hers. And in exchange, my cousin and his wife will tell us of how they too met by chance, the unremarkable night inside the unremarkable bar, the meeting itself unspectacular, and they didn't touch each other for years, but still something endured, like a glint among the earth's marrow. And today they have a fridge heavy with food and potent liquor, and at the tail end of their home is a kitchen from which they can see over the counters and out a window, their children playing in a field. But I'm getting ahead of myself. I need to focus on the matter at hand. My niece smiling to herself and ducking through the green, and my cousin calling her name, calling her in from the land like a young horse, and singing also the name he once chose for his infant son, the one who was just seconds earlier wailing and wrecking his way through their home and toward where our laughter grew legs. And I am beside myself as my cousin, but who's also my sister, calms the child over her good shoulders, while my niece sails slow between us and wraps her arms around her father's calves and looks us over like strange trees inside her home. And here, there, with them, is where the roads of country led us, to where the poem gestured we'd arrive, to see it. And so I see it, and my lover sees it, and this is how it is. My cousin and his wife, their 2 children and their own bones. The evening's gown fades to primrose, and my niece crashes her feet against the green curve of the earth. The moment calls our attention like a flag and swells like a balloon along the walls of our skulls, and later, my lover and I will knot our hands once more, and the moment will be sealed there between the fingers for years. Woo! Never read that poem out loud. That was fun. So I have the privilege, but also the duty, the sworn duty. You know what I mean? It is my labor as a citizen of this country of Nancy to introduce our monarch, our queen. I will be honest with you. I took a hit before I started reading. Took a hit of weed. Well, before the whole thing started, I took a hit. And so I'm normally giddy, but I'm super giddy right now. And I didn't, like, my memory sometimes like does some stuff when I'm like a little bit high, and I didn't want to like wing Nancy's like introduction like I'm doing right now. So I wrote down some notes, and then I'm gonna like, you know, I'm just gonna read those notes and introduce the fuck out of Nancy real quick. Let me get that bio. Okay. Nancy Huang is a monarch. Monarch. You're
Word of the day is monarch.
Nancy is a queen. Nancy's perfect. Nancy is a badass bitch. Nancy is a bowl of fresh strawberries in winter. Nancy is a poet. Nancy is the writer of my favorite poems. Nancy is probably the best poet on the planet. Nancy is the honey my community swarms toward. Nancy, my handwriting sucks, y'all. Nancy is the cohesive substance. Nancy binds me to you and you and you. Nancy is a vine connecting grapes. Nancy is the ripest fruit. Nancy wants you to be happy. Nancy wants you to drink water. Nancy wants you to take care of yourself. Nancy grew up in America and China. She has received fellowships from Tin House, Watering Hole, Vona, and Pink Door. Her debut collection, Favorite Daughter, is out by Right Bloody Publishing. She is an MFA candidate in NYU. She can't skip stones and sleeps in her bathtub in Brooklyn. Nancy reads a poem as if she's trying to gut you. Nancy knows how to gut you. Nancy says you're welcome like a threat. Nancy says I love you like a vow. Nancy, I love you.
Hey guys, what's up? Hey.
That was
What the fuck? Bernard, I love you so much. I love all of you so much. Thank you. Thank you for all of this. Shut up. All of this. This is really great. Pam's right, I gotta cry. I'm gonna cry later. I'm gonna, like, as you can see, this group of people, like, we all hate each other. Like, we hate working together. We hate each other's poems. Like, we can't, this is a total fucking nightmare. The first poem, I love y'all. The first poem I'm reading is not mine. It's called Black March. It's by Stevie Smith. And I'm reading it because it made me cry this week. Black March. I have a friend at the end of the world. His name is a breath of fresh air. He's dressed in gray chiffon. At least I think it is chiffon. It has a peculiar look, like smoke. It wraps him round. It blows out of place. It conceals him. I have not seen his face, but I have seen his eyes. They are as pretty and bright as raindrops on black twigs in March, and heard him say, I am a breath of fresh air for you, a change by and by. Black March, I call him, because of his eyes being like March raindrops on black twigs. Such a pretty time when the sky behind black twigs can be seen, stretched out in one uninterrupted Cambridge blue as cold as snow. But this friend, whatever new names I give him, is an old friend. He says, whatever names you give me, I am a breath of fresh air, a change for you. I have a poem about Bernard and also Janelle, who's also here. Hi. So we all went to Kanji Village one night, and Bernard wrote a poem about that night. Janelle wrote a poem about that night, and I finally have finished a draft of a poem about that night. Janelle and I were arguing about myths, and I just kept thinking about how like that night has become its own myth too, because I think the three of us just walked away with three completely different like ideas of that night, and therefore different poems. It's called Kanji Village. I might change the title. It doesn't matter which story is true as long as they're told. Yeah, the cold of the night flaying our skin. Yeah, the steam on the windows laddering up until it blankets. Yes, our jaws greasy with their own carnage. A Bahamian, a Singaporean, and an American walk into a Chinese restaurant. One myth over, it'll be morning. Yes to the faucet dripping. Yes to the lobster fried rice, the pork congee, veggie dumplings. Doesn't matter which iteration lives in our bellies. No to the kitchen god and his secret list. No to whoever told you of firecrackers. Say it over and over again until it becomes myth in the mouth. Hoist the gas until it ran over, you're welcome. Cupped fire in wet palms and you're welcome. Blew up your whole childhood, you're welcome. The freckle of gunpowder, hankering for heat that we invented instead of heat we found. My sorrow and my pride become congee soup I can ladle into my best mouth. The myths grow their own bodies, their own limbs, grief too. I raise them like children I'll love better than my own if I'm not careful. The trickle of whoever came before thinning and thinning with time. Anyway, the story goes that we three sat down one night and unfurled our petals, except each petal interrogated the other, and instead of shriveling, they bloomed in full and told their own different stories to their own different children. Thank you. I have like two more. Thank you so much for sticking with us for this long too. If
I
you're
love
still
you.
here.
I love you so much. That poem was amazing.
Petals? Petals?
Petals? Okay.
Y'all keep it down. Yeah, I've been, speaking of food, I've been like hungry lately and thinking about that a lot, and I have a poem about being hungry. It's called Phrasebook Adventure, a Chinese English dictionary. 我姓黄, 我饿, 我饱, which is a translation for I'm Huang, I'm hungry, I'm full. Huang, noun, adjective, yellow. Example, the Huang River cuts through Shanghai. Adjective, decadent. Adjective, pornographic. Verb, to fail, to be wrong. Noun, legendary emperor, the first Chinese man. Example, according to legend, Nirwa herself took sunny clay from the Huang River Delta and sculpted the first man in China, Huang. Etymology, fire. Usage, I'm gold sun, I'm self-indulgent, I'm slow flesh. I'm wrong, I'm accorded from an ancestor. Noun, verb, hunger. Example, the child is Adjective, evil, wicked. Example, the child is Noun, vicious, malice. Example, you cannot get away with being Etymology, cracked bone in fire pit. Usage, I'm devoid, I'm inhuman, I'm rich or ghost. Let's try this again. I lack, I inflict, I grudge, I bitter. You cannot get away with being hungry. I steal the food from your mouth. Ball, adjective, full. Adjective, learned, erudite, scholarly. Noun, ultimate limit. Adjective, satisfied. Example, try and ball your Etymology, oracle spun. Usage, I'm gill-fed, glut. I'm brainy, I'm burst. I saturate, am content. 我心慌, 我饿, 我饱. Possible phrasebook iterations. I'm gold sun. I am devoid. I am content. I am decadent and failure, hungered for evil, learned to understand limit, I satisfy. I'm sun god, I grudge and I bitter, I'm rich or dead, fed content. I'm slow flesh, I eat until lacking, I fill until sore. Let's try this again. My name pornographic, a decadent delirium. I starve a stone, I brain the ground, I am the ghost in your house, am legendary. Your walk left me from clay herself, perfect yet peeled open. My name, a river inflicted on hunger, stuffed glut. My name, the fire blackening someone's bones. My name, vicious cut. My name, learned malice, the food in your mouth. My name, a wretched truth about ancestry. Some things are passed down and some things we stole. My name, burst of gold clay in her hands. I have the last poem. Thank you everyone for being here. I love y'all. I love the Ginger Tea Collective. I love Manderley, everyone here. I wrote this one about my birthday. I read it a lot, but I made some changes. Kat, you're in this one because you were the only person besides Rob who was there and on time for my birthday. So the rest of you, you know, too bad. Someday I'll love Nan Huang. It's the form and title come after Ocean Vuong's, you know, Someday I'll love Ocean Vuong, which is a beautiful poem. Someday I'll love Nan Huang. It'll be winter, the way today is winter. Cat racing me to the end of the boardwalk, to the edge of the water, where through my shades I mistake the sun for its own reflection. Like I'd seen myself in my shadow, I'd been so convinced. Later that night, I run outside in the rain to shriek at the wet on the ground. Oh no, the woven sweater I'd bought at the thrift store in Brighton. I left my top inside, and Kat turns around, says, "But Nancy, I'm right here." Harness and collar, all our friends chirping and whooping, the rain a steady weep against dark jewels. Yeah, Nan. I call myself whatever I like. The rest is details I don't miss. Keep telling everyone I don't want to make a mess. I'm boring. It's all I want to be. The next day in the library, I get lightheaded, so Beatrice pulls me back into the stacks emptied of bodies. Odysseus is the rightful ruler of Ithaca, the beautiful French philosopher is chanting to applause. Do you sing? She murmurs into my throat. So I prove it. Thrash light voltage, hard rock swing, warm nails pillowing in fat. Hannah comments on the state of my lipstick. No mess, no mess. Nan, there must have been a moment when I loved myself most, and I think that was it. Monday, I'll be back in class with a pirated version of our assigned reading, and turning this age will be over. There must have been a time when I loved all of them best, where we just found each other or missed each other. Nan, there's no such thing as a horizon. The sun doesn't move from its spot. That's a lie they told you when you were younger, that something was at the center of it all. Aren't you lucky, Nan, that people will still love you after a sin? Say more or less. Say 24. Say I love you a lot. I love you, love you, love you, love you, love you. It'll be dawn soon and I'll watch. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Yeah, thanks so much, everyone. I'm going to turn it over to Rachel, who is like the end all be all. Thank you.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Thank you all so much. Ginger Tea Collective, Kwame, Kiran, Kat, Karisma, Bernard, and Nancy, for your words, for your energies, for your collective energies, for your work. Man, I'm sure I can speak for everyone when I say that what you put into the world and this whole reading is truly such a gift. So maybe one more acknowledgement or a round of applause or whatever we have for all of you. Thank you all so much. Really thank you. That's all for now, but thank you again, and feel free to reach out to us if you want to get involved with anything else or do something like this again, or have ideas of your own. And a quick shout out to Luke. Happy birthday, Luke. I think you're still here. All right. Thank you, everyone. Take care.